cell's chromosomes or the DNA, the nucleus is basically double membrane with pores through it. It has nuclear pores which can easily allow transport or passage of certain particles up to a certain size. Each chromosome consists of one long DNA molecule attached to proteins. Which are the proteins attached to DNA? They are the histone proteins. Except when the cell is preparing to divide, the DNA is replicated. So DNA molecules are linear rather than circular. So here in eukaryotes, the DNA molecules are linear. That means just like in prokaryotes, we were seeing that the DNA is circular in shape. Here it is linear in shape. The proteins are histones arranged in globular groups called small beads. The DNA wound around it, around the outside. So suppose for example, this is the DNA. So this is the core, basically histone. It forms a nucleosome. Okay, so this one particular structure will be called as a nucleosome, and there will be around 8 histone proteins around which this double-stranded DNA will be wound like this. So it will again it will go ahead, and one more such structure will be present. So the whole DNA is actually wrapped around these histone proteins, and the whole structure, this single unit from here to here, this is called as a nucleosome. So the prokaryotic DNA doesn't have such histone proteins. It is simple circular DNA without any proteins. So now coming to ribosomes. In ribosomes in eukaryotic cells synthesize proteins just like prokaryotes. They both have the same function of protein synthesis. So ribosomes are involved in protein synthesis process called as translation. Okay, so structural difference is still there in prokaryotic and eukaryotic ribosome. Prokaryotic ribosomes are smaller, they are 70s. Eukaryotes have 80s ribosomes, so they are larger in size. This causes them to sink more quickly than the prokaryotic ribosomes when centrifuged. So it is quantified using Swedberg units S. Eukaryotic ribosomes are 80s. Now coming to the next organelle, that is mitochondria. It is called as the powerhouse of the cell. So most of the energy production in the form of ATP is done inside the mitochondria. Mitochondria is surrounded by a double membrane. So just remember, nucleus is surrounded by a double membrane, which is called as a nuclear membrane, and mitochondria is also bound by a double membrane. The inner membrane is usually folded inwards to increase the surface area. And mitochondria carry out about aerobic cell respiration. So all the cell respiration process, where the breakdown of complex molecules into smaller ones, and basically production of ATP is mainly taking place. Production of ATP is taking place inside this mitochondria. Eukaryotes are only lacking in cells that never respire aerobically. Okay, so nuclei, mitochondria, and ribosomes are example of organelles. All these important organelles are described in section this. So just the inner membrane is folded inwards. So suppose for example, this is a mitochondria and this is the outer membrane. So the inner membrane will be folded like this. To increase the surface area of this mitochondria, the inner membrane will be folded like this, and there will be enzymes present on this inner membrane which are involved in cell respiration. Okay, aerobic respiration, that is respiration that is taking place in presence of oxygen. Oxygen is required for aerobic respiration. All right, that is why our cells, they need oxygen. That is for just this purpose, because aerobic respiration, that is production of energy, it requires oxygen. Now, processes of life in unicellular organisms. Living organisms are very diverse in their activities. However, some vital processes are either universal or very widespread. So homeostasis is basically maintenance of constant internal environment in an organism. So what all things are maintained inside the cell or an organism? So let's talk about humans. So how homeostasis works? Our body temperature is maintained constant somewhere around 37 degrees Celsius. So all the time it has to be kept that. So if we go in colder conditions or if we come in hotter conditions, so our body actually does something to keep the temperature constant. So for example, if it's really hot, our body starts to sweat, so that the sweat which covers our skin, when the air will come in contact with the sweat, it will lead to a cooling effect in the body, so that the body temperature can be reduced. Similarly, if we are going to colder areas, our body will start to produce more and more heat inside our body, so that the temperature constant temperature can be maintained. The next process that is taking place, so in homeostasis, first thing that is regulated or kept constant is temperature. Next is the pH of the blood, that is also kept constant. So the blood pH cannot be fluctuated, otherwise a person might die. So these are the severe adverse effects of not maintaining a constant internal environment inside the organism, or if you call it a cell. So both the things, they have to maintain the homeostatic conditions. Next thing, that next activity is metabolism. It is sum of all biochemical reactions that occur in the living organism. So everything, all the catabolic, that is breakdown of certain molecules, or production of new molecules, that is anabolism, both of them will come under metabolic processes. Next is nutrition, supplying the nutrients required for energy, growth and repair in an organism. Next is excretion, the waste is removed, waste products are removed. So waste products are produced from metabolism in an organism, so those waste products are removed through excretion. Next is growth, and increase in size or number of cells is called as growth. So increase in size as well as increase in number, both of them are considered as growth. Response to stimuli, perception of stimuli and carrying out appropriate actions in response. For example, if a sharp object is pricking your finger, immediately, automatically, without doing it on purpose, automatically your hand will get removed from that place. If by chance you, without knowing, if your hand touches something really hot, without even you knowing or taking time to remove that hand, automatically perception of stimuli removes your hand from that place. So that is response to a stimuli. Next is reproduction. Reproduction is production of offspring, either sexual processes, either through sexual processes, or asexual processes is reproduction. So let's see, in multicellular organisms, different cell types are specialized to perform these functions, but the single cell of unicellular organism must perform them all. The annotated diagram of paramecium and chlamydomonas show how two unicellular organisms perform the functions of life. So here, let's see in, first of all, let's see in paramecium. So beating of whiplash like cilia. So these small projections that you can see, the yellow projections coming outside from the cell, these are basically the cilia, and beating of these cilia will help the paramecium to move through the water. It can be controlled by the cell so that it moves in a particular direction in response to changes in the environment. So suppose, for example, this particular cell, it can sense that the temperature is hot on this side and it has to move in that direction. So the cilia will help to move the paramecium in this direction in response to the external environment. Next is food vacuoles that contain smaller organisms that the paramecium has consumed. So these are the food vacuoles. So actually, whatever it will perceive outside as a food particle, it will ingest it, or it can endocytose it, and inside the food will be digested. These will be digested, and whatever food particles it has ingested inside, they all are going to get broken down for production of energy. Next is metabolic reaction. They will take place inside the cytoplasm. Okay, so that release energy by respiration. Enzymes in the cytoplasm catalyze these reactions. So in paramecium, basically all of the reactions are taking place inside the cytoplasm. The next is the nucleus of the cell can divide to produce the extra nuclei needed when the cell reproduces. Reproduction is often asexual, while the parent cell divide to form two daughter cells. So simple cell division will take place. So it's basically asexual division in which two daughter cells will be produced from this one single parent cell. Cell membrane is present, which controls the chemicals to enter and leave. It allows the entry of oxygen for respiration. Excretion happens by waste producing, diffusing out through the membrane. Next is the contractile vacuole. So these vacuoles will be present. So they'll help the cell to lift up in the water and then expel it through the plasma membrane of the cell. This type of homeostasis keeping the water content of the cell within the tolerable limits. So whatever extra water will enter inside the cell, they will be accumulated in these vacuoles, and it will be expelled outside the cell. So according to the requirement, the water level is maintained inside the cell. Whatever is extra, it will be stored in these contractile vacuoles. So let's see the next organism, that is Chlamydomonas. So Chlamydomonas also have a cell wall which is freely permeable. Okay, the plasma membrane. So the cell wall is freely permeable. That means it allows most of the things to enter through it. But plasma membrane is selectively permeable. Okay, it controls the chemical entry, what all chemicals will enter and leave the cell. For example, oxygen can be allowed, okay, to enter, and whatever waste is, it has to be excreted outside. So it is excreted outside through diffusion through the plasma membrane. Okay, next is these green, it is looking green in color, so that basically means that photosynthetic, it is photosynthetic in nature. Photosynthesis will take place. So it has chloroplast which is cup shaped. So Chlamydomonas will have cup-shaped chloroplast in which photosynthesis will take place. Carbon dioxide will be converted into sugars like glucose, and these metabolic reactions will happen inside the cytoplasm. Okay, a store of starch is visible inside the chloroplast. We can see the starch which is produced. So whatever carbohydrates are produced here, they'll be stored in the form of starch. Food vacuoles are formed when other organisms are ingested by endocytosis. It can also ingest other organisms, and such food vacuoles will be formed when this will happen. The nucleus of the cell can divide to produce genetically identical nuclei by asexual reproduction again. So here again the cell will divide itself into two daughter cells. Nuclei can fuse and then divide in a form of sexual reproduction. In this image, the nucleus is concealed by a cup-shaped chloroplast. So here, can you see this cup-shaped chloroplast here? So this is the cup-shaped chloroplast, and this is the nucleus which is present here. Okay, so the two flagella beat to move the cell through the water. So here we can see the flagella. So these flagella, so one is in this direction and another one is in this direction. So these two flagella will actually help to move this particular organism in whichever direction it wants to move. So basically, what is the difference between cilia and flagella? So both of them are made up of microtubules, but cilia are very, very small in size, and they are several in number, while flagella are generally very less in number, either one, two, or a few of them, but they are larger in size and they help in movement of the particular organism. Again, this also has contractile vacuoles based at the base of the flagella. So here we can see the contractile vacuole. It is filled with water and expel it through the plasma membrane. So this type of homeostasis. So again, it is maintaining the amount of water inside the cell. If more water enters, it is sent to the contractile vacuole, and through contractile vacuole, it is expelled outside the cell to maintain constant water concentration inside the cell. Okay. So let's come forward. So there's another DBQ here, and let's solve this DBQ as well. So here Arcella gibbosa is a unicellular amoeba that lives in freshwater habitats. It has hard outer coat made up of chitin. So it is light but strong structure resembling a honeycomb. This is called as a test. So not all amoeba will have this test. Whenever amoeba will face adverse condition, in that condition it will secrete this outside hard coat which is called as test. So this test will be secreted outside the plasma membrane and also inside the cell where it is present outside the nucleus. Okay, so this is a circular aperture in the test, and finger like protrusions of cytoplasm can push out through this, then react again. So here we also have a diagram. So let's see what our structures are labeled here. Nuclear membrane is labeled, outer surface of test, plasma membrane, contractile vacuole and aperture in the test. So let's see here. So this is the aperture in the test. Okay, this is the contractile vacuole, plasma membrane, and this is the outer test. And this is basically the nuclear membrane, I guess. NM was NM is nuclear membrane. Yes. So this is the nucleus and this is the nuclear membrane. All right. So these are this one is basically the inner coat or inner test, and this is the outer test, and it is made up of thin structure, thin and rigid structure, which is called as chitin. So let's read the questions one by one. Calculate the diameter of the cell and magnification of the micrograph. So again, same thing, magnification is being asked again and again. So you can assume the size of this cell. See, if in the scale it is approximately 50 micrometers, so then if I do it almost 3 times, we can say, so it is somewhere around 155 or 160 micrometers, right? So you can say that seeing this scale itself. But if you want to find out the magnification of this, then how will we find out? So approximate size of the cell we have already found out. Now take a scale and measure the width of this particular cell inside your book, so then you'll be able to find out the magnification. So the actual size on the scale, it is coming somewhere around 23 mm, and this is 150 to 160 micrometers. So I'll convert this also into micrometers, so it will be 23,000 micrometers. So this is size of the image and this is actual size. Using these two we can find out the magnification, right? So 20 magnification will be equal to 23,000 micrometers upon 100 and so if I use only this 50 micrometer scale, so let's see, then also will be able to find the magnification. So it is somewhere around 460x. All right, so in the next question what they have asked is reduce the maximum size of food particle that can be ingested. So what is the maximum size of food particle that can be ingested? So test is a thick part, so it cannot actually let the food particle enter through it. So there has to be an aperture in the test which is approximately 40 to 45 micrometers, so that from that aperture the food might enter inside the cell. The next is explain the need of contractile vacuole in this organism. So to actually control the level of water inside the cell, so the contractile vacuole is needed. Just as I explained, the extra amount of water is expelled out from this cell using this contractile vacuole. So whatever extra water has entered inside the cell by the process of osmosis will actually leave the cell by the contractile vacuole. So contractile vacuole will store the water, and if it exceeds a certain limit, it will actually expel the water outside the cell. So the next one is predict whether this cell was growing, preparing to divide, or what is actually happening to the cell. So whether it's growing, preparing to divide, or okay. So so there are several food vacuoles that are visible in the cytoplasm. So there are a lot of white droplets of stored food which are also present in the cytoplasm. So it has a lot of nutrients which are needed for growing. So that is how we can say the cell is actually growing. And also it is preparing to divide, we can say, because there are two nucleus that are visible, we can see here, right? So whenever there are two nucleus, one is this and one is this, so when two nucleus are present, that basically means the cell is ready to divide. It is ready for the cell division. Replication has already been completed, and after this the cell will actually divide. So I guess this is one nucleus and this is another nucleus. So here is one, another one is this one. Okay, so these are the two nucleus that can be seen here. Suggest the hypothesis whether the cell has mitochondria in its cytoplasm. Give reasons and suggest how your hypothesis can be tested. So basically mitochondria will definitely be present because this particular amoeba is a eukaryotic cell, and eukaryotic cells have most of the organelles present. So if we will use these micrograph, or we can use electron microscopy, because the size is really small, we need a lot of magnification, right? So to see the mitochondria we will need electron microscopy. Through electron microscopy we can see the mitochondrial structures very precisely, and because it is an eukaryotic cell, definitely it will have a mitochondria. So students, that is all for this session, and we'll continue with this chapter and we'll finish off probably in the next session. So I hope the topics are clear. If anything is not clear, you can note down your questions and we will discuss it in the discussion session.